Living Adaptive.
The goal is to adapt and thrive despite the adversity you face.
You're going to have that little voice inside of you trying to push yourself.
I set a vision for myself and now I'm seeing it come to fruition.
I'm grateful for losing my leg.
There's just some things you must endure in life.
You might crash. You might fail.
You can find a purpose in your suffering.
I'm not special. I've just decided that I'm not going to stop.
You do everything you possibly can.
We want to change the world.
I'm going to adapt to it and make it the way it works for me.
Take what it is from life that you want and enjoy it.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Scott Davidson, and this is Living Adaptive. Today, we have a really awesome guest, but before we get there, remember to go subscribe to us on YouTube. New channel, new video content. It's been audio forever. We're switching over to video, so do that. And also check us out on Instagram, living_adaptive, and Facebook, Living Adaptive. Just so you know, we do not take sponsors. We do this for fun and to spread the good news. So go out there and share this and just spread it. Each time we succeed, somebody, we're all succeeding. This community is growing really fast lately. So share what everybody's doing. Be proud of what you're doing. Okay, so we got Kelly Bruno on. Kelly, what's up? How are you?
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're awesome. You're an amazing athlete. You're on my Rushmore because you do extreme things. You do a lot of extreme things. But one thing I noticed is you don't eat bad meals. I was looking at you're always healthy all the time. Do you ever cut back and do what I do and eat like shit for a day or two?
Oh my God. A staple after every long run is a burger. So I don't know what you consider a burger. I don't think of it as healthy, but I get plenty of those in my diet. I try to eat healthy for the most part, but then I can splurge.
You're a pretty extreme athlete, especially coming from the adaptive world. You're a really, really rare entity. The distances you cover and so forth are crazy. We're talking 100-mile races. People reached out to me for a couple years and said, go get Kelly Bruno on. And I'm like, you mean the lady from Survivor? Go get her on here. I'm like, she's not going to come on here. She's too busy. You're a medical doctor too, and I'm introducing you to everybody here. You're a medical doctor. You were on a reality TV show. You were loved on that show. You're also an amputee. And so to jump into this real quick, just to get your adaptive story out, what is it? What's your adaptive story?
I've been an amputee my entire life, right? I had a congenital birth defect. My leg was amputated when I was 6 months old. That's how I grew up, and I had a super supportive family. My dad was absolutely the most energetic person you will meet. He pushed me to do all these things, which was amazing because it really got me outside my comfort zone and forced me to, try things that I wouldn't have tried. And I got into sports really early in my life. And for me, there is something that is very leveling about that experience. It totally leveled the playing field. I was out there on the soccer field, the t-ball field, you name it. I was out there, and there was something that I found. I just didn't feel disabled out there. I didn't feel different. I felt like that was my place to just be comfortable. And for me, be in my own skin, I felt good. And so I think I carried that through my life.
Do you think I could beat you in a pull-up contest? I know you're going to crush me everywhere else. Do you think I got you or no?
It would be close.
Damn. You powerlift too. I know you powerlift. I know you bodybuild. You did a bunch of stuff besides the functional training too, the whole side of racing and stuff. You hate to lose. You hate to lose.
Well, I got into this kind of hybrid sport kind of for a period of time. And I think the idea for me was just that I did not want to be one dimensional. I wanted to be able to do everything. I wanted to be able to go out there and be competitive at you name it, I can be competitive. And I don't know what that comes from, but it's just like my latest thing was I wanted to be able to do a handstand. I'd never been able to do a handstand before. So, I did a 30-day kind of program, and I can do a handstand now. It's I just love that idea that I'm capable of anything. And I think being disabled, being, different has kind of pushed me to push myself.
Do you consider yourself disabled or different? does that label fit you, or do you go with I'm adaptive, or what do you for me? I say I'm adaptive. I'm an adaptive dude. That's it. Yeah.
I've never been I just have never been big into labels. I don't know that it matters. Whether you say disabled, you say it's all the same thing. It's referring to the same thing. I think it's how you see yourself. And to me, whether someone says I have a disability or I'm adaptive or I have one leg. That's the crux of it. And it's semantics at that point. I don't feel strongly about what the terminology we use.
Yeah, you're pretty passionate, and all your approach to things. And I think you have like some pretty profound things you can find videos where you talk about your dad, how important he was. Your dad, he tragically passed away in an earthquake in Haiti. And this was right before you went on Survivor. And I think you went on Survivor in 2009, something like that.
Yeah, 10.
10. So like, but your dad's been like this driving force in your life forever. It's like, how much of that has driven you to do all these crazy accomplishments? Was it him? Was it like overcoming this label of disability? What was it?
Yeah, I think he's definitely been in my mind since he died, and even before that, when I went off to college and kind of continued doing what I did. For sure, he's one of those people that just like, I think he almost didn't know what to do with me, right? I mean, when you have a child with a disability, like it's as much difficult for the parent as it is for the child. He had never been, there's no handbook on how to like deal with children, let alone, a child with a disability or some kind of functional difference. And so for him, that was, he really wanted to see me succeed. And so I think that really empowered me. And then I took that with me after he passed away. It was my first year of medical school. It was a really, very difficult year for me. I was just not in a good place. And then the opportunity to be on Survivor came up, and it just seemed like it was meant to be, it was like, how do I pass up that opportunity? I think that's like what he would have just gone crazy if he had still been around for that. So I think it just all kind of was like just all aligned.
Listen, us lower differences, we can hide our stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But like I had a childhood of hiding it. I must look Mormon like all the time. Like I was fully covered, man. And anyways, I try to hide it as much as I could, but eventually each day almost something would come up with it. But like this time, you couldn't do that on Survivor. You couldn't hide your limb difference at all. I don't know if you were ever hiding it, but like the point being is you couldn't hide it, and the whole world was going to see it on a huge scale. I mean, one of the most popular television shows ever. How much did that freak you out?
No, I mean, I was excited about it.
Oh.
I really was. I mean, I think that's, that was the empowering part of it. That was the exciting part of it, was that, like I could share it with the world and kind of show like what any of us can do, and that we're not different, and that, we're all the same. And I guess I go through life and I just figure everyone has their challenge. Everyone has their obstacle. Like ours are more visible, and maybe less so than some, but more visible than others. And so it's kind of a spectrum. Mine's physical. Somebody else's might be mental. Somebody else's might be emotional. But everyone has their challenge and their reason to stay in bed, that day. And so it's getting past that and getting over that.
Yeah. Getting over that is one thing that the younger generation's having trouble doing. I get messages. In fact, I spoke about this yesterday on Instagram. I get a lot of messages because it's like, it's pretty easy to see there's something wrong with me. You know what I mean? Not wrong, but something different about me. And so like I get messages all the time from this younger generation. I wish I could streamline how I reframed. I wish I could go to them and be like, hey, there's an easier way than punishing yourself and feeling really horrible. Like what is it? What can we do to tell us? What can we say to the younger generation to just embrace this and go reframe?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is just like, for me, it was definitely the opportunity to interact with other people that have experienced something similar, right? And kind of been confident in it. It was that exposure. So for me, my turning point was when I was 14. It was my dad, of course, who kind of forced me to go to this First Step program. It was a clinic. It was a running clinic in Washington, D.C. And he wanted me to be there. And it's funny because like I'm still friends with all of those people that I met then. There was a track meet, and I ended up qualifying for a national and then a international track meet from that event. And it was just that exposure to people that I had been hiding it for so many years. And then all of a sudden, these people were out there and they had their carbon fiber legs and they looked so cool and bionic. And I just got like excited about it. And suddenly I'm like, oh, I want one of those. And it really changed my view of it. Before that, I had barely met another amputee. I mean, I would like pass somebody maybe in the prosthetist office, but like otherwise, before that age, I never had exposure to it. I think that either people are hiding it or they're just, there's the numbers. Like you just don't get exposed to it on a day-to-day basis unless you're in a group. I mean, now definitely you have, Facebook, Instagram, you have all these ways to see people. Definitely back when I was that age, 80s, 90s. I mean, there was none. I know people can't believe it. There's a time when the internet didn't exist, and like you had to call people, and there was no text messaging, and so it was a different time. And so for me, it was actually meeting people with something similar.
Yeah, I remember just explaining that, like, they're like, club what? And I'm like, club foot, like, got both legs. And they're like, what happened? Car wreck? And I'm like, no, just a lottery, the genetic lottery or whatever. I don't know, man. And like, I just remember how difficult it was. And it's not like that now, not nearly the same scale. Like in terms of like having those relationships and stuff. But like, I got to get to your competitions real quick. Cause like you say, I'm so capable of things. You got to a place of like feeling confident, and you go out there and you crush people. You're crushing able bodies all day. If that's the term people want to use, is able bodies all day. What are you capable of, like in terms of sports, like to let people know what you've done? What are you capable of? Time to brag a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that. I'll have to say.
I know you're not.
I just do things. I just go out there and do things. I've done Ironmans. I did Kona, so the Ironman World Championships back in 2008. I've done ultra marathons, so up to 100 miles. I've done 3 of those, one of them under 24 hours. I've done powerlifting competitions. I most recently just kind of shoot for just trying to do something different. So I did Cactus to Clouds, which is one of the hardest ascents on kind of the Southwest. So it's basically from sea level up to like 10,000 feet of climbing. Yeah, running it.
Wow.
It's about 20 miles of running. I don't know. I just like to set some goal and just go after it.
Do you feel pressure? I mean, a lot of people look to you for that example. Like, hey, if Kelly Bruno can do it, maybe one day I can do it. Do you feel that pressure because you had the pressure at Survivor? We kind of talked about that. But do you feel the pressure of like repping the community?
I don't really see it as pressure. I just see it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think one of my recent posts was just, about doing things because you love to do them, not because somebody else wants you to do them or because there's some notoriety attached to it. And I think I really live by that now. And I will fully admit I was not always like that. I mean, there was a time when I was racing, the ITU World Championship triathlon races. This was before that the triathlon was in the Paralympics. So the kind of pinnacle of the sport was to go to the ITU World Triathlon Championships. And I did that for 4 or 5 years. Came in first a couple of times. And that to me, I thought that was like the be all end all, but I didn't love it. I did it, and it was fantastic, and it was a fantastic experience. And I traveled the world, and it was great. And I was with really awesome people. I got to like travel with awesome people, but I realized looking back that I had literally put all of my identity into that one thing. And now I love the idea that I can do anything and be anything and try anything. And that to me is like way more powerful and enjoyable.
Yeah. Okay. So like you talked a little bit about this. This is super important to me because there's this fight, or not even a fight. There's this quest to be huge on social media, have these big Instagram accounts and now TikTok. My own daughter has a TikTok account and she's like trying to be big on it. But like, especially like in the adaptive world too, how did you get to a place where like, this is for me? I don't have to worry about what other people, I don't need the love of others to like feel good about myself and what I'm doing. How'd you get there?
I think it's a lot of introspection. I think also, 10 years being in medical school, medical training, residency, fellowship, your time is very controlled. And so you are very, very protective of the free time that you do have, and you value it. And I'm not going to go out and like take a bunch of pictures so that I can put one on Instagram. Like that wasn't important to me. I think the fact that I was able to enjoy that time was more important to me. And I don't think I grew up in an era of social media. It's a little bit, I'm a little bit older than that generation. And so I think it's a very useful medium. I think
you're the edge. You're the edge of that generation.
The edge, exactly.
Yeah.
I keep trying to convince people I am not a millennial. I'm like a zennial.
Yeah.
There's like a generation X millennial overlap, and I'm right there. So I think that, I guess the other reason is I don't and maybe this is going to sound wrong or off, I don't know, but like, I don't do it to inspire people. I do it because I love to do it.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
if that inspires people, then I think it's great. Like, I'd love for them to be able to do it too. And I think they can do it. And I want them to feel like they can do it. But I don't necessarily think what I'm doing, like when I'm doing it, I'm not like, ooh, what am I going to post on social media about this? I'm doing it because I love doing it.
That's amazing. Like getting that spot. Cause I'm guilty of that. I'm like, I did something I think was cool. Somebody look at me and tell me I did a good job. Clap for me, please. Like I'm being transparent. Like sometimes I need that love, you know?
I think the hard thing too is that it's easy to look back and think, I think when you aren't necessarily you don't have a lot of self-confidence in what you do, or you don't have that feeling, then sometimes when you put it out there, you're afraid of what the response is going to be. And so there's that fear as well. And I can't say I'm not guilty of that. I mean, for sure, I definitely have my, share of kind of self-image issues and, not feeling capable or not feeling good enough. It's not all like, I think that what you see are accomplishments, but you don't see all of the failures necessarily. And so there's definitely that component to it where, yeah, I mean, once you put it on social media, you just feel like it's very public, right?
Yeah, very much so.
That's not what you want.
Yeah, it's not. There's there's a 10%, 15% where it could be good. You're sharing that story. Like a girl reached out and she said, I'm going to show off my legs. I'm like, show those bad boys off, like show them what you got. Like, it's going to be awesome. Like, you're going to embrace yourself. There's this other side where it's like a lot of overindulgence. You talked about self-conscious issues. I grew up with bullying. I talk about that a lot. I was lucky. I had two older brothers really big, and I was big too. If I had pants on, I was fine. Nobody knew a difference, but I did have bullying at times. Did you have to face bullying?
Yeah. And I think most of us do. I think it's because you're different, right? I mean, that's what people pick on. That's what they target. For sure. I had it when I was really little. I mean, I remember back first, second grade, and I had a best friend. She was bigger than me. She definitely got my back, more than once, and would kind of stand up to these kids. It's not, it's definitely not like the movies. It's not like what I see on TV. But I think it's there. I had it in my life. It definitely contributed to, my self-esteem for many years. And again, I think it's just that it's that difference. And I think once I got that community of people that were different but similar to me, I found a lot of just empowerment from that.
Your community is very unique. Like, if you see your videos on your community is a bunch of go-getters, especially athletically. Is that what your everyday life is outside of being a medical doctor, which is super intense, like after you leave that, you go home and it's around a bunch of people that are going after it physically. Like, is that your world?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I would say, yeah. I mean, my day job, is a bunch of medical doctors who are very, very ambitious. And then outside of that, it's a lot of, and those are the people that I'm then friends with. So my colleagues, my friends, they're all ambitious people. And then outside of that, for sure, most of the people that I interact with are, just have different goals. And I think it's good to have those people around you because it pushes you. It makes you kind of revisit what's important to you and go after those same things or something different, but like keep finding those things that you find satisfaction and joy in.
Why medical doctor? I'll give you a scenario why I say this. Like, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, is very much into medicine, and I avoided it at all costs because, like, as a baby, even at color green, I would cry, and so, like, I avoid doctors I associated. Bad news. I did. Like, you jumped right in. Why medical doctor?
Yeah, I mean, partly because my dad was a doctor. Most of my family's in medicine. My sister's a nurse practitioner. My other sister's a psychologist. But I think for me, a big part of it, I, luckily didn't have that experience as a child. I had 2 surgeries. That was my kind of memory of medicine. One surgery was terrible. I was 12. I remember it. It was a double osteotomy. They took out 2 wedges of bone. It was horrible. I had an external fixator on for, 4 months. Couldn't wear a prosthesis, had 8 rods coming out of my leg. Was in a wheelchair or on crutches, and this was in like 6th, 7th grade. So you can imagine, 6th, 7th grade, you're like, of course, your image is like very much,
that's like going to your first dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was horrible. And so I do remember that. That's my only recollection. And I definitely didn't go into ortho, and that's probably why. But otherwise, I think I always had this dream to help people. I took a couple of years off after undergrad. I decided not to go straight into medicine. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a few years, and there was something, I just felt like I was so disconnected from being able to help people. I had, in that time, started working with the Wounded Warrior Project, and I was living in North Carolina, and I would travel up to Walter Reed, and I would meet with veterans who had, or I guess soldiers who had just lost a limb. So they were like still in the hospital and they were recently lost a limb. Or I did a project, it was called Soldier Ride, and it was the Wounded Warrior Project. And
I know that, yep.
You're familiar with them. Okay, yeah, so it's great. It's a great group. We would basically ride from city to city over like 3 or 4 days. And I was a guest rider, and I would just kind of talk to these guys about like, hey, you're still able to do all these things. You know, life's going to be awesome, and this isn't going to slow you down at all. And so that was my role. And I felt like I just couldn't do enough. I felt like I couldn't help them enough. And I felt like I needed more tools to do that. So fast forward almost 13 years. And
fast forward 13 years of extra schooling. You know?
Yeah, that. 10 years of training and 3 years of figuring out what I wanted to do. And
yeah, UNC, it's not like a Caribbean school here. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying.
I get it.
I'm just saying.
So I love what I do now. I work at the VA here in San Diego. I work in pain medicine. So I work with amputees. I treat phantom limb pain, and it's very, very rewarding. So I feel like I can help them in a different way.
Wow, that's amazing. I know your dad was very much into that too. You know, the stories that he's an amazing man, you know, and you're carrying that torch and giving back in that way. I had no idea you were up at Walter Reed and hitting the soldiers, because like, if you think about it, that was the time where a lot were coming back from combat. We were getting the fresh batch. I was there too. I was living actually right there in Kensington, Maryland, right by Walter Reed. So yeah, so I was right there at that time, and so soldiers were coming out trying the Whole Foods over in Silver Spring, and you'd see them practicing like, we're going to navigate now and see what we can do. It was a pretty wild world. They were very freshly injured, pretty tough to see. Yeah, so when I thought about like with your medicine and everything that's going on, like how much have you been able, besides that community, have you been able to impact the side of like prosthetics, orthotics and stuff like that? Because I see you get rep by them. People want you to rep their products, you know what I mean, too. And a step ahead prosthetics, I love those people, you know, like that whole crew up there. You work with them. Like, how much have you impacted that industry? Because you've pushed it to a level that a lot of athletes aren't going, so they got to try new things.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I definitely have kind of forced my prosthetist, Eric Schaefer, a step ahead to, you know, think a little bit outside the box with things that I want to do. So I think it contributes to the whole community. He made a really cool leg for Survivor that would let me kind of do a little bit of everything. I was so excited about that. I've done like powerlifting was another one where, traditional just run-of-the-mill leg wasn't quite cutting it. And so part of it's because my limb, I have a 2-inch femur difference. So my femur on my prosthetic side is 2 inches shorter. And so that difference, affects my squat, deadlift. And so we really worked on getting a leg that would allow me to kind of minimize that difference. And so we spent like a week or two on a leg, and it's awesome. He did an incredible job. So, in that way, I definitely think I can, contribute to the community, and ideally, whatever he works on with me, we, can work for somebody else in something similar.
Yeah. So like, I wanted to also get into like questions. So like, out of all people that I've talked to, you be in the top area of getting questions. A lot of comedians get tons of questions because people could be really bold with comedians, but you're a medical doctor. People are bold with medical doctors too. Like, and then on Survivor, you got some silly questions like, how do you make the leg move? Which I thought was one of the funniest questions I've ever heard. It's like, how do you make that move? Like, and so like, anyways, what kind of like questions do you get? What have you had over the years? That's
probably one of the silliest ones I've gotten. Most people are pretty,
cool
they're not that, I don't know. I think most people are more afraid to ask.
Yeah.
So I will definitely give that. Like, I have been told by multiple people in multiple different scenarios that I'm a little intimidating, and it's not like I don't mean to be intimidating. I just apparently come across that way, which is totally not my intention. I'm actually a very like easygoing, approachable person, but I think most people just don't even ask questions because they're like afraid to.
Yeah.
But I am not one to hide it. I mean, I know you talked about wearing pants earlier. Like I, have a carbon fiber leg and I show it. And it's funny because over the years I have become less, there was a period where I wanted to show it. I didn't care. And then I kind of got to the stage where like, I want to be able to wear skinny jeans and like not have people be like, what's going on? You know, what's wrong with that one right there?
Yeah.
So I go through phases for sure.
Yeah, I go through phases.
Totally off tangent, sorry.
No, I go through phases all the time. I've pulled off the skinny jeans the last 5-6 years and it's been all right. You know, like it's been okay. I got a 9th grader. She's like, you got to get some skinny jeans. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this.
The skinny jeans. I haven't figured those out yet. I'm like a dress, shorts, and then I go to pants and I'm like sweats. Those are like my 3.
Shorts all summer for me though. I just on purpose, I make sure I display, you know, you just don't know who's out there hurting. And I'm like, let's just do it. It'd be a disservice like to not address this because I ask this at times and at the level you're at for as an athlete, a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is for somebody, especially single amputee, you're navigating, having to do well, and then it could be above and below knee and all the other things. But like in your case, what does it take to adapt your body to actually go out and run? I mean, it doesn't have to be a 100-mile run. It could be just like a 5-mile run. What does it take for you to do this, like your everyday life, to get around and do everything?
I mean, I guess it's just routine for me because I've been doing it for so long. I think that's what's hard is you kind of forget that for other people it's not. So, you know, I mean, for a 5-mile run, I mean, for any run, I mean, it's for me, it's just a matter of changing legs and going out there. And there's not too much more to it than that. You know, I think anytime that anyone does anything competitive or not even competitive, recreational, right? You definitely have, you know, the body's adaptation to it. So if you're just starting out, like, you know, your body getting used to doing those things, and the stump is one area where you're going to have to get used to it. You know, it takes a while for, you know, you to build up the stump, to build up that stamina for it. I think your hips definitely take a different, you know, it's with a running leg or even a walking leg, you know, it's a different toll on your hips. So there are definitely imbalances. And one of the things definitely as I've gotten older, now that I'm, almost late 30s, your body just, it doesn't recover the way it used to. It's not as resilient as it used to be. And so I picked up a lot more, you know, yoga and stretching and some of these other things. There's a book coming out on adaptive yoga that I did some pictures for, and I'm super excited about. I think it's coming out in September, but it was one of those things where, like, you know, doing some of the adaptive poses, actually, I hadn't done before. I've just done regular yoga. You know, I just, you know, go to class or do an app that's regular yoga. And so some of the adaptive poses were really interesting because I hadn't tried, you know, I just hadn't tried it before. I never thought about it. And so it was awesome where, you know, you take off the leg or, you know, use a chair or something. But I think being able to kind of address those issues before they become an issue and making sure that you're taking care of your body as a whole when you're going out for, say, a run or whatever that endeavor is as an amputee, somebody that has a limb difference or, you know, whatever your challenge is, it's making sure your body's recovering from it.
Well, I didn't know you're doing this yoga book and other stuff, at least being the model for it and like kind of that stuff. Like, let's talk some trash real quick. I got a few more things for you. Let's talk some trash. If you entered the Paralympics back like in your prime, how many gold medals are we talking?
Oh gosh. So I never went to the Paralympics.
I know you didn't, but like if you did.
I did a lot of racing. I can't even count. I have them in a box somewhere. There's so many. I mean, I have a bunch, but you know,
because I think you're like me, you didn't go to these para sports, and I think, like, I'm not saying I would have had a bunch, but for somebody like you, I think was premier, like the top of the keep, you know.
But you know, and I think the other thing is, like, you know, I don't want to sound insensitive, and this may sound insensitive, so just bear with me. I'm trying to be politically correct. I think one of the reasons that I started doing more able-bodied sports and got into that is because the depth of the field is so much bigger.
So much bigger, yep.
And so when I was doing a lot of the Paralympic sports, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I support it wholeheartedly, I found that when you start to whittle down the classification and you're saying it's, you know, I'm a single female, or I'm a female single below knee amputee, and when you start to whittle it down, there's one of you or two of you or three of you.
Four.
Yeah, I mean, so like have a race, but everyone's racing against themselves really because they're, everyone has a different disability. And don't get me wrong. I
No, I think people understand that. I think they do. Like listeners or watchers now understand that. I don't think there's anything wrong. I never tried a para sport until last November, this most recent November.
Oh.
Everything else was non-adaptive, non-para because like nobody's there. Like I don't know. Nobody's around. So like,
you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, go make us a sport or something like that. There was nothing there. I'll make my own. Like there was nothing there. So like, if I wanted to play with kids, I'm gonna go play football with them or basketball or mainstream sports. At the time, I didn't have a choice. So I did my best, to compete with that. I think of you though, like we have somebody here that has a lot of wisdom, a lot of life experience. And I'm not just talking the adaptive side and everything, but like, what is it all about for you? What is your purpose here? Why are you here doing all this? What is your life all about?
Yeah, I mean, I look back and I think trying to carry on my dad's mission. My dad was very much into, helping people. His mission was to really, really treat the underserved. And that was why he was in Haiti. And I think it was to, also build, kind of lay a foundation for people under him. So he took 12 students down to Haiti for this mission trip. Essentially, it was a week-long mission trip. And, I think he died doing what he loved and kind of inspiring people and helping people to be more than they were, and do something for other people. And these were just a bunch of like college students that were with him. And so I was very much inspired by that just life of giving. And although I don't think I think about it necessarily, that's a big part of why I do what I do. That's a big part of why I went into medicine. I want to, help people feel better. That's a big part of the type of medicine that I do, which is pain medicine. So, right, I'm helping people feel better, whether it's mentally or physically, because they're both very connected into how you feel and how you perceive your life and how you perceive pain. And so when you feel better mentally, you feel better physically. And so combining those things. And I think that's one of the reasons I've started to become bigger on social media is because I realize in medicine, I can only help a finite number of people, right? I can only see so many people in a day. And so how do I reach a larger audience? I do feel like through my medical training and through some of the experiences I've had, I do have kind of a wealth of knowledge and just experience that I would love to be able to share. But certainly, when you see 7 patients a day, that's going to take a long, long time to reach, a lot of people. And so there's a part of me that just thinks, if I can kind of connect with more people and just say go do what you love, go figure out what it is, live your life, because life's short and you should have fun and enjoy it and not get caught up in this day to day. And this, I think it's easy to get kind of sucked down and pulled down into some of the depressive thinking and that mindset where you're not good enough or, you're different or you're not successful. You're not all these things. And I want people to know that they're capable of all those things.
You talk about adversity and you've had adversity, right out the door, you had to have adversity. That means that you're going to have surgeries. You didn't have a choice. We don't have a choice often in our adversity. Your dad dies at a very young age doing what he loves, but you saw adversity. You were young. That's a young age to lose a parent, a father who you're really close with. Adversity's there, but then you have the adversity of the athletics you choose. 100-mile race is going to tear you up. That's not something that's taken lightly. Why do you like adversity, in those realms? Why do you like it so much? What is it?
Yeah, I think that adversity really shows you what you're made of. I think it pushes you to be bigger than yourself, and I think it also pushes you to be better. And I think one of my mottos is better every day. If you could take one little step to improve yourself, I think adversity really kind of forces you to do those things. And whether you like it or not, right? I mean, many of these things, as you said, were kind of forced on me, or in your case, forced on you, right? They weren't something that I sought out. It's, that was not a choice that was given, but this is the situation I'm in, and how do I take this and become better for it?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I live by. Ideally, I get to set what those challenges are, and so whether it's a handstand challenge or my next one is I'd really love to learn to dance, like setting these goals for myself to, again, become a better person and become better physically, mentally, emotionally, in all these ways.
You don't know how to dance?
I can't dance.
Oh my God.
I am terrible at dancing.
Like with everything else, everything that caught me off. That's the last thing I would have thought.
I blame it on my leg, but I know I can't. There are definitely some really, like Amy Purdy is like an dancer, right? She's on like Dancing with the Stars, and yet I can't dance. But I just blame it on the leg. I feel like it's a good scapegoat. It's like a cop out.
That's a serious reveal here. This is like a big one, you know? Like I before we started recording, I said like you should start your own show, and you're like, I don't have so much time. I still think you should, or you can come on and host here anytime you want to impart what you got. You have a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. We can't argue with you about medicine because like I'm like a Google doctor. I don't know anything. Like you have everything down. You're actually a real expert in lots of areas that really help the community watching right now. And so like seeing you go out there and just like share that with everybody and being here, thank you. Like you didn't have to be here, you didn't have to give the time, so like you're giving back to us, getting your story and hanging with you, so thank you so much.
It was my absolute pleasure. So, yeah, thank you for asking me. I mean, honestly, I just to be able to share with everybody else, and you know, I think that it's a two-way street. I'm inspired by all the people that I see, so it goes both ways.
Remember, go to livingadaptive.com to find previous episodes, show notes, contacts for guests like this guest, links to social media accounts, and a bunch of other good stuff. So go there. Peace.